Good morning and welcome to the Public Service Commission. We are here today in a hearing in docket number 2021-330T. It's a transportation hearing for a Class E household goods moving certificate. Before we get started, let's take a roll call of commissioners. Here in the hearing room, we have Commissioner Williams, Commissioner Powers, and myself, Commissioner Belser. Joining us virtually, we have Commissioner Irvin and Commissioner Thomas. I'll recognize our counsel today, Ms. Sandra Moser. Would you please read the docket?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Good morning, commissioners, parties, and counselors. We are here today for the proceeding in docket number 2021-330-T regarding the application of LaBarbera Movers LLC for a Class E household goods certificate of public convenience and necessity for operation of a motor vehicle carrier in Georgetown, Marion, and Horry counties. The proceeding has been scheduled for today, March 1st, 2022 at 10 a.m., and this hearing will be conducted virtually. All parties participating in this matter are present and the docket is in order. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moser. We'll now take appearances from the parties.
Madam Chair, this is Charlie Toraney for LaBarbera Movers.
Good morning, Mr. Torini, and welcome. I was waiting for it to come up on the screen. If we could get, and who's here for the Office of Regulatory Staff?
Madam Vice Chair, members of the Commission, good morning. Nicole Hare on behalf of the Office of Regulatory Staff.
Good morning, Ms. Hare, and welcome. We're not seeing you. Is that on our end or your end? Let me check with our folks in the back. Bear with us just a moment, parties, please. There y'all, there's everybody. Okay, thank you very much. Welcome. Any preliminary matters before we begin?
Madam Chair, I'd like to move some items into evidence, if that's okay.
That'll be fine. You don't want to bring them in through your witness?
Well, we could. I mean, if you prefer, we can do it that way. That's fine.
That's typically my preference, Mr. Torini, if that's not, that way we can have a proper foundation.
That'll be fine.
Thank you, Mr. Torini. Please proceed with presentation of your case.
Good morning. We'd call Mr. Max LaBarbera to stand.
Mr. LaBarbera, please, just a moment, we'll put you on the screen and the court reporter will swear you in, please.
Yes, ma'am.
If you would raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. LaBarbera. How are you?
Good morning, Mr. Torini. Good morning, everybody else.
Ever done a hearing before? Been on a
Nope.
hearing? Okay.
First time.
That was the first time. Ms. LaBarbera, did you file an application on behalf of LaBarbera Movers in this docket?
Yes, sir.
Did you make an amendment to the application on February 24th, 2022 to add a new page 5, which was an updated vehicle list?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have any other changes you wish to make to your application at this time?
No, sir.
Okay. Madam Chair, I would move to introduce the application of LaBarbera Movers and the evidence at this time.
The application of LaBarbera Movers filed on October 13th. Let's mark that as hearing exhibit number 1, marked for identification and received into evidence. And we will mark the updated vehicle list that was filed. Could you give me that date again, Mr. Torini?
February 24th.
Okay, that's what.
24th.
All right, thank you. We will mark that updated vehicle list as hearing Exhibit 2 and receive it into evidence as hearing Exhibit 2. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Barbara, did you prepare or cause to be prepared 4 pages of pre-filed testimony in this docket?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any corrections or additions you wish to make to your testimony?
No, sir.
If I ask you the questions in your testimony today, would your answers be the same?
Yes, sir, certainly.
Okay. Madam Chair, I move to introduce the pre-filed testimony of LaBarbera Movers into evidence at this time.
The pre-filed testimony of Mr. LaBarbera will be entered into the record as if given orally from the stand.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Ms. LaBarbera, did your testimony have 2 exhibits, an Exhibit A, a tariff, and Exhibit B, a bill of lading?
Yes, sir.
And did you file a revised tariff in this docket on February 24th, 2022?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any other changes you wish to make to your tariff, bill of ladings, or any exhibits you wish to add to your testimony?
No, sir.
Okay. Madam Chair, I would move to introduce the exhibits as revised on February 22. Well, let's do them one by one. I'd move to introduce the tariff attached as Exhibit A to Mr. LaBarbera's testimony with its revision on February 24th, 2022 is Exhibit 3.
For clarification, Mr. Torini, is that kind of a composite exhibit of the 2 tariffs that were filed, one on February 17th and one on February 24th?
Yes, ma'am. That was my thought.
Okay.
Or we could just, if you prefer, we could if it would be easier, we could just accept the amended tariff as an amended Exhibit A.
Would it be
Whichever is
cleaner
better.
for the record if we just take in the February 24th tariff?
I think so.
Okay, why don't we do that, if that suits you? I don't want to leave anything out, Mr. Torini, but
No, ma'am. It's just, it's what the tariff we're proposing.
okay. So the final tariff that is being proposed is the one filed on February 24th, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And we will mark that for identification as hearing Exhibit number 3 and receive that into evidence.
Okay. And I would move the introduction of the bill of lading, which was attached as Exhibit number 2 to Mr. LaBarbera's testimony into evidence.
The bill of lading attached to Mr. Barber's pre-filed testimony will be marked as hearing Exhibit number 4 and received into evidence. And just to be clear, we are leaving out the Exhibit A that was attached to the pre-filed testimony. That has been superseded, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, just so everybody's on the same page. Thank you.
Mr. LaBarbera, let's give the commission a little summary of your testimony and let them learn a little bit more about you. First question I always ask in these dockets is, where are you from?
I'm a Yankee. I'm originally from upstate New York, about an hour and a half north of the city. Most people don't realize down here that New York isn't just a city, there's a whole state. So it's always funny telling people I'm from New York, they automatically think Manhattan. But I'm from upstate New York. I moved down a few years ago and I absolutely love it. Never going back.
Great. Do people ask you if do people tell you they know somebody in New York and ask you if they know him?
Yeah, yes.
All the time.
It's funny with a name so particular, some people recognize the name and they ask, do you have a cousin here? Do you have a cousin there? And the answer is always no.
Did you organize LaBarbera Movers, LLC?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay. Is that company in good standing?
Yes, sir, it is.
Are you the sole member of the company?
Yes, sir.
And you're I guess the president or the chief operating officer of it?
Yes, sir.
All of those things. Why did you, well, let's talk about your education. Where'd you go to school?
So when I graduated high school, I originally went to Philadelphia University. and I went there for a year, and then I backtracked. It was a little bit too far from home. Didn't really like the city, so I went to Southern New Hampshire and started working and going to school at the same time.
Okay. And I believe you just told me you played baseball?
Yes, sir. I played baseball my first year of college at Philadelphia, and then I got too old and started to get hurt too much.
What happens? What's your experience in the moving business?
So I worked a little bit through high school and my later years of college, and when I moved down here with Clancy Relocation and Logistics, they're based out of New York. My father worked for them, so I worked for him for a while. And when we moved down here, it was under the Clancy umbrella, but it was United Van Lines. So I worked with him doing that, doing household moves from New York, Connecticut, down to here, down to Florida.
So at what age did you get started in the moving business?
As far as time frame, it was probably around 15 or 16.
And how old are you now?
23.
Okay. So at that young age, you've already got about 8 years of experience as a mover.
Yes, sir. I did a little bit of different work throughout college, so I wasn't doing it for about a year or two mixed in there. But yes.
So what are the other jobs you did in college?
So throughout college, I started managing a gym, Planet Fitness gym near my college.
Okay. And you, when you moved to South Carolina, you took a job as a deputy sheriff?
Yes, sir. So that was with Georgetown County. I was a deputy sheriff. It was only for a few short months. Didn't work out. Long story short, felt that feared for my safety as far as training went, and just decided to make a different career path.
That was about the time of COVID.
Yes, sir.
And it disrupted the Criminal Justice Academy.
Yes, sir. So it pushed it back since there's only one in Columbia. So when I got hired, I wasn't going for about 8 months after I got hired.
Okay. And you were working as a deputy sheriff in the meanwhile?
Yes, sir.
I can understand. So did you leave on good terms?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how are you employed now?
So I'm a realtor part-time now, and obviously trying to start this business. That's my main goal.
Okay. Will you have help with the business, or you got employees lined up?
Yes, sir. So we have a few people that we want to interview and everything. Granted, if everything goes as planned. My father, he's, like I said, he worked for Clancy United. He has about 25 years experience in the business, so he will be the main employee.
Okay. So your dad's going to be active in this?
Yes, sir.
And he lives where?
He lives in Myrtle Beach as well. It's only about 10, 15 minutes from where I live.
Okay. So he's part of the Great Migration as well.
Yes, sir.
How are you going to go about training your employees?
The goal, as I put in the testimony, is I want to develop videos as far as basic training, get to know about the company, get to know basics about moving, with kind of and stuff at the end, and then hands-on training for about 4 weeks with me or with my father, since he has so much experience.
And do you have a vehicle?
Yes, sir.
I'm trying to share a screen. Is this your truck?
Yes, sir. It certainly is.
Okay. And do you have, are you purchasing insurance for this vehicle?
Yes, sir.
And an insurance quote was attached, or I believe you may already have the liability insurance for the truck, right?
Yes, sir, we do.
Okay. And how about cargo insurance? Will you purchase cargo insurance?
Yes, sir, certainly.
Okay. I'd like to talk a little bit about your tariff for a minute.
Okay.
Could you tell the commission how you would go about charging your customers for the cost of a move? In other words, would you be able to vary from the tariff or not?
No, sir.
Okay. So if you were to give an estimate to a customer and then it turned out that the actual cost of the move was different from the estimate, which would you charge the customer, the estimated price or the actual cost?
That would be the actual cost. So we go off of an estimated base, so we never give
Okay.
a flat price.
Right. Now, if I were to come to you and say I'd like to move, and you're applying for authority in a 3-county area, correct?
Yes, sir.
What are those counties?
Horry County, Georgetown County, and Marion County.
Okay. Do you think you might apply for statewide authority later on?
I sure hope so. I believe so. With the knowledge we have, I think we will definitely be able to grow and make it to that point.
Okay. Well, what if I wanted to make that move in the Myrtle Beach area? Say I was in Marion and I need to move to Conway. How would you go about? Well, walk me through the process. I'm calling LaBarbera Movers and I'm saying I want to make a move. What are you going to do next?
So we would try and get some basic information and come out and give an estimate, go to the house, and that way we can give a formal estimate.
Okay. And then we have the date of the move, and you're going to use a bill of lading.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what do we do from there? You load the truck, and how are you going to factor? Well, let me ask you this: how are you going to arrive at your estimate?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How would you arrive at your estimate, and then how would you calculate your cost?
Okay, so in our tariff, we charge an hourly rate. So let's say it's 2 men in a truck, we charge $100 an hour on a weekday. So we estimate the amount of hours that it will take. Like I said, there will be a range in there. And in our tariff, there are specific items that we charge extra for as well.
Okay, great. Is this a process that you're familiar with from your experience in the moving industry?
Yes, sir, certainly.
So would you provide a customer a bill of lading?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Are you aware that you have to keep copies of those bills of lading on file and they can be audited by the Office of Regulatory Staff?
Yes, sir.
Have you already met with the Office of Regulatory Staff for a site inspection?
Yes, sir. That was Thomas McGill.
Okay, great. How are you going to reach customers?
So our business will be to start off on a referral base with realtors, storage places. Storage is huge in Myrtle Beach. We have so many people like myself moving down from the Northeast and their home is being built. So they'll be moved down from a company that does household moves cross country and put in storage. So we'll be partnering with some storage facilities and social media and website base.
Right. Are you financially able to carry on this business?
Yes, sir.
Are there any outstanding court orders or judgments against you or this newly formed company?
No, sir.
You aware of any complaints that have been filed with Better Business Bureau?
No, sir. None.
Is your real estate license in good standing?
Yes, sir.
You've submitted a 10-year driving record. Is that record still current?
Yes, sir.
And it was filed with the commission on February 24th, was it not?
Yes, it was.
How many points are on your license?
I don't believe any, unless I'm mistaken.
You're not.
You scared me for a second.
Madam Chair, I would move to introduce the 10-year driving record of Mr. LaBarbera into evidence as Exhibit 5.
Mr. LaBarbera's 10-year driving record will be marked for identification as hearing Exhibit 5 and received into evidence of this case. Thank you.
Mr. LaBarbera, have you ever been convicted of a crime?
No, sir, definitely not.
And when you applied to become a Georgetown deputy sheriff, the Georgetown County Sheriff can conduct a background investigation on you?
Yes, lengthy process.
And have you published a notice of, or at least caused to be published a notice of your application in the Post and Courier around January 27th?
Yes, sir.
And we filed an affidavit of publication of that advertisement with the commission, haven't we?
Yes, sir.
Madam Chair, I'd move to introduce the affidavit of publication of the notice of this application into evidence as Exhibit 6.
The affidavit of publication of the notice for this proceeding will be marked for identification as hearing Exhibit number 6 and entered into the record of this case. Thank you.
Mr. LaBarbera, a demonstration of the need for your services is not strictly required, I think, for a 3-county move. But why don't you tell us anyway, why do you think there is a demand for a new mover in Georgetown, Myrtle Beach, and Marion County?
So as far as my knowledge goes, I think there's only a handful of certified movers in the area. And Horry County, I believe, is one of the fastest growing counties in all of the United States. Definitely in South Carolina, I believe Myrtle Beach was just rated the number 3 best place to live in all of the United States. So like me, we have a ton of people coming down from the north and large influx of people.
What are your plans for this company?
Simply put, to grow as much as possible. We want to build a great client base and, get some great reviews and just give customers kind of what they deserve. We've heard some horror stories and we've seen some horror stories being in the business. So we know we can be a notch above everybody else, and we want to be a notch above everybody else.
Do you plan to do you think you might open some storage facilities in the future?
Yes, sir. That's a big time goal of mine and my father's. Buy some land in the future and build some storage.
Okay, great. Ms. LaBarbera, thank you for answering my questions. Please answer any questions that counsel for the ORS, Ms. Hare, may have for you or the commissioners.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Tarini, before you tender the witness, I would like a housekeeping matter, if you don't mind.
Certainly.
On January 7th, I see where you, on behalf of LaBarbera Movers, a updated or a revised safety certification was filed. That came in with the that original updated vehicle list and proposed rates that was changed a little bit, not the final rates. But do you want that updated safety certification made a part of the application, please?
That would be great, Madam Chair. I apologize. I forgot.
We got a lot of paper floating around, so
It's a lot.
It's easy to have.
And yeah, I forgot all about it. I would move to introduce the safety certification.
Just that one page. The other
Yes, ma'am.
the other stuff has been revised again.
Yes.
Okay, so the updated safety certification that was filed on January 7th will be marked for identification as hearing exhibit number 7 and received into the evidence of the case. Thank you. ORS, any questions for the witness?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. ORS has no questions for this witness.
Thank you, Ms. Hare. Commissioners, I see Commissioner Williams first. Oh.
No, I'm happy to go first. I don't know. Anyway, it's good to have you before us and hear of your plans for LaBarbera. I've just got a couple of questions. I want you to talk a little bit more about the training and the videos. We often hear about training of employees, and are these videos that you will produce yourself, or are they ones that are available online?
Yes, ma'am. So that'll be a work in progress. It's not something that will be right away. It'll take some work. Um, I work with and I have worked in other facets with a videographer who does exceptional work here in Myrtle Beach. So as far as the videos, it'll be something that we put together for training purposes. And I believe that'll be key. I mean, in the past jobs that I've had, like I said, with the Georgetown County training, I believe is the foundation to a successful employee. So that's definitely a huge goal of ours in order to get started.
What kind of skills will you be teaching in the videos?
So as far as I believe to start off, it will just be basic, knowledge about our company, knowledge about how we started, knowledge about, licensing and what a mover can and can't do, how we charge, just so employees know a lot about our business and what we do. Off of that, it'll be, basic skills that a mover needs to know as far as, wrapping furniture correctly, how to protect furniture, basic things like that, how to load a truck.
Great, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
In your testimony, you're asked the question, how will you quote the cost of a move to a customer? And I think I heard you say you would do on-site estimates. And then I also read in your testimony, on-site estimates will be performed if deemed necessary. So I want to kind of go back and not just drill on that on-site question, but rather just the question of how will you do the estimates? There's reference about square footage. There's reference about moving experience. So just, I know Mr. Tarini took you through it, but could you do it in a little bit more detail for us?
Yes, ma'am. Of course. I'm sorry I didn't make I misspoke. We will be doing an on-site estimate for every possible job that we can. We understand that everybody we can't get out to and give an on-site estimate. Like I said, a lot of people here, they might be second home. They're not in the area, so we won't be able to do an on-site estimate. In that scenario, we'll get as many details as we can about the house, about where it's going, over the phone, via email, so we can give an estimate. As far as what we charge, it's based off the tariff, and it's, we'll give a range based on what we think time frame and what it'll take on based off of our experience.
I'm kind of learning from you, so let me see if this is true. If you take a square footage of a house, does that then give you a multiplier that tells you think it's going to take X number of hours?
Yes, ma'am. So it's kind of twofold. I mean, somebody could have a 2,000 square foot house and not be able to walk in it. And then another person might have one furniture, one bed in the whole house. Mm-hmm. We will go off of that, and we will get a detailed list if we can't go out to give an estimate on site, a detailed list of what furniture they have, an approximation of how many boxes, how many totes, as much information as we can get, and then we will refer to our tariff to go off of time frame. And we have a sheet that we used to use with our old company, actually, that calculates the amount of weight, cubic feet, stuff like that. So that gives us a good idea when people tell us how much furniture, like I said, if we can or we can't go out there, to give a great estimate on time frame.
Okay. I have no further questions at this point, and appreciate your information. Thank you, Mr. LaBarbera.
Commissioners, any other questions?
Madam Chair.
Commissioner Powers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When you say upstate New York, some of us older people think automatically Woodstock. Are you anywhere near there?
No, sir. Not too far. About an hour and a half away. It's a small town where I was located. I was up in the mountains, but outside of Poughkeepsie, New York.
Okay. There's just a couple things I was interested in. You mentioned in your tariff items of particular value and that you don't assume any liability for a whole list of things, and mainly looks like a lot of paperwork, collections, and different things. You may not assume liability, but you do realize that in certain situations, you won't be able to deny liability and need to make a really careful record of what you're hauling when you're hauling anything special. You understand that, I'm sure.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Certainly.
And with your father, have you already lined up any other employees? Are you aware of any employees or anybody you've had to train at this point?
We have not fully taken on somebody, but we have a few prospects in the works.
Okay. And if you get employees, you realize it may be in your best interest to try and seek some sort of workers' compensation coverage so you don't get stuck with something if somebody gets injured.
Yes, sir. Certainly.
Okay. You know of any physical limitations that you or your father would have as far as being the immediate workers on this situation?
No, sir.
Does your father have any problems as far as his driving record if he's driving?
No, sir.
Okay. In your tariff, talking about appliances, let's say such as a freezer, that sort of thing, when you charge a fee for stuff like that, does that include hooking the appliance back up for the client?
No, sir, it does not.
Okay. So when you move it in, refrigerators, hot tubs, that sort of stuff, the client needs to clearly understand they better have a plumber or have somebody to do all that.
Yes, sir. Certainly.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate it.
Commissioners, any other questions? Mr. LaBarbera, I have a question with regard to your bill of lading. Do you
Yes,
have
ma'am.
do you have that with you?
Yes, ma'am.
The very top of the first page of the bill of lading is cut off on my copy. Can you tell me what that first line says above your company name?
I'm sorry. I actually don't have a copy with me. Charles, is that?
I can share one if that would be okay, Madam Chair.
Well, if you could just read it, if you have it, Mr. Turing.
It says uniform household goods, bill of lading and freight bill.
Okay. Mr. LaBarbera, are you aware of any changes to either the front side or the back side of that bill of lading that were made?
No, ma'am.
Was there a change to the number of days to file a claim?
No, ma'am. Not to my knowledge.
Okay, Mr. Turini.
May I clarify the number of days to file the claim, and this is very small.
Yeah.
Right now, but I can tell you the court that we conformed it to the tariff.
Right. So there was a change on the back, is there not?
Yes, ma'am. And this has gotten to the point where, yeah, there has been a change to reflect that. I believe it's a 14.
And I agree with you, and that's where I'm getting to, Mr. Turini, and this has been an issue that I should have raised a long time ago. There's been a change to the terms and conditions on the back. Therefore, this is no longer the uniform bill of lading. Is that correct?
That's a fair observation, although I will confess that at this point, I'm not clear on what, I mean, that we have had that term. There's a bill of lading that is on the commission's website for use by applicants. And in that sense, I suppose it is the uniform bill of lading. I have taken the liberty of reformatting and typing the back of these bills of lading so that they're legible, which frankly, the ones on the website weren't, but they are verbatim other than that. So
Okay.
I agree with you, Madam Chair.
Would
we
y'all
can
mind?
Now on, not call that a uniform bill of lading.
I think that that would be very helpful. And this may be a discussion that we have in the meeting when we talk about this, but to the extent that someone that might have used the uniform bill of lading as a consumer and might be aware of all those terms, they may just see uniform bill of lading on, I think it says something like uniform household goods and freight bill of lading or something like that.
Yes, ma'am.
They may skim over those terms, and then when there's a change, it's just no longer uniform. So would there be any objection from the applicant just to strike the term uniform from the heading?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And could we get y'all to refile that as the company's bill of lading?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I appreciate that. I didn't mean to hit you with that from left field, Mr. Torini, but that's just been an
it's a
issue.
good catch.
It's been an issue with me for a little while. So, Mr. LaBarbera, you realize that you're asking for 3 counties and that your origination point and your destination point must both be within that 3-county area.
Yes, ma'am, certainly.
Okay. You can't pick up in Georgetown County and move to just across the line in Charleston County. You're aware of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And from your previous experience and your father's previous experience, you've worked in this area of regulated movers, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, certainly.
And you're aware that there are certain responsibilities that if you change your address or you change your email, your contact information, you need to let the commission and ORS know of any changes in your contact information, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. There aren't a whole lot, if your application is approved and you receive the licensing, there's not a whole lot that you have to do, but you do have to stay abreast of keeping us informed, keeping abreast of changes to regulations or statutes that the legislature may pass. You're aware of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I appreciate your testimony today and your forthrightness, and wish you well in this endeavor.
Thank you so much.
Commissioners, anything else? Mr. Torini, do you have any redirect?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Mr. LaBarbera, you're excused as a witness. Anything further, Mr. Torini?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Office of Regulatory Staff.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. The Office of Regulatory Staff filed a letter in this docket on February 28th, 2022, indicating that it did not intend to file testimony in this case. ORS has reviewed the application filed by Mr. LaBarbera, as well as performed a review of the books, records, and equipment of LaBarbera Moving. Based on this inspection and review, ORS is of the opinion that Mr. LaBarbera will meet the requirements of fit, willing, and able. And I would at this time move to put that February 28th letter from the Office of Regulatory Staff into the record. And I believe we're up to hearing exhibit maybe 9, if I'm keeping count accurately.
8.
8.
Okay, I apologize. Thank you. My court reporter's keeping me straight. Mr. Torini, the late filed exhibit of the updated bill of lading will be number 8, marked for identification and received into evidence. And Ms. Hare, you are correct. The ORS letter will be marked as hearing exhibit number 9 and received into evidence. That's the letter dated February 28, 2022.
That is correct. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair.
Thank you. Is Mr. McGill available if there are any questions, Ms. Hare?
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, he is available if there are any questions from the commissioners.
Commissioners, any questions of Mr. McGill? Hearing none, Mr. McGill is off the hook today. Is there anything else to come before the commission with regard to this application from either party?
No, Madam Vice Chair.
Well, Mr. Torini, Mr. LaBarbera, Mr. LaBarbera, I apologize, and Ms. Hare, thank you all for your attendance and your participation today. We will take up this matter once we receive the late file exhibit. It'll be on on a upcoming agenda for a business meeting where we will rule on this. Thank you very much. And with that, we will close this hearing.
Thank you.